For my nonfiction book presentation, I chose to read The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. And I want to start off by saying that I honestly really enjoyed this book and I really recommend it to anyone and everyone. I think it was so interesting and eye-opening, and it really made me feel fortunate for the life I live and that I have a really, I don't want to say normal family, but I have a stable family and a good home. So this is The Glass Castle. This is the Walls family. From the left to the right, it's Rosemary, Brian, Lori, Rex, and Jeanette. And Jeanette is the writer and the voice of the story and the main character. And then that's just a picture of the book cover. So, a little bit about the Glass Castle. It's a memoir that was written by author Jeanette Walls, and it kind of talks about the eccentric childhood and family life that she had. She moved through all these different towns, and her family was really odd. They just, they weren't like most families. A lot of times they would leave in the middle of the night, and Rex, the dad, would say, "Time to skedaddle." They left for legal reasons. They might not have a job in the town anymore, so they would leave. And through the story, as she grows up, she really struggles with the internal argument of staying loyal to her family, who she does love, but it's really hard because they don't make the best choices. They're not smart with their money, and they really don't have a lot going for them. So eventually she moves to New York City and she becomes pretty successful, but she still suffers from a lot of guilt about leaving her family. Is she supporting them enough? And just that. And then this, "Years from now, you'll still have your stars," is a quote from the book, which was said by her dad, Rex. And this is it when they are all watching the stars and they're talking about the glass castle and their lives. And Jeanette's kind of questioning the family. And her dad's just like, "Whatever happens, you're going to have the stars." And then she picks out her own star and she picks Venus to always hold on to. Some important symbolism to note throughout the book is the glass castle, which I put this quote in. "I stared at the plans. Dad, I said you'll never build the glass castle," which Jeanette said to her father. The glass castle was basically this idea that kind of was reiterated throughout the book of that her dad was going to build this magnificent glass castle for their family to live in. They were going to be rich. They were going to be comfortable. They were going to have this gorgeous house. Of course, it never happens. And her dad is begging her to stay when Jeanette says this to him because she's going to leave to New York. And her dad's like, "No, no, don't leave. I'm going to build this glass castle still." But really, everyone knows they'll never build the glass castle. But it's just kind of a symbol of the hope and the strive for better that the family does hold on to. And secondly, this isn't mentioned as much, but the Joshua tree. I put a quote in that says, "You'd be destroying what makes it special," she said. "It's the Joshua tree struggle that gives it its beauty," which is what Rosemary, the mom, said to Jeanette. Because Jeanette was kind of questioning her family, like, "Why are we not like the other kids' families? Like, we're really dysfunctional. This isn't how all my other kids I know my age are." And she's like, "Our family's like a Joshua tree. Like, we're different, but that's what gives it its beauty. Like, the struggle it goes through to grow and to live and to be this different tree and stick out is what gives it its beauty and what makes it stick out and what makes it amazing." So those are some important things to keep note of. The purpose of the glass castle, it was kind of an outlet, I feel like, for Jeanette to tell her story. I think it talked a lot about growing up and like learning how to become yourself and like setting boundaries with your family, because as much as she loved her family, her father was an abusive alcoholic. Her mother was a narcissist who really didn't have a lot going for her. Neither of them really held jobs. And as much as you love your family, you have to want success for yourself. You have to step away from that bad situation and go after your dreams, which Jeanette ended up doing. And then this is a quote from Jeanette. It's not from the book, it's from an interview that says, "I think there's incredible value in coming to terms with your story, and I hope that telling my story will encourage other people to revisit their own." So this kind of leads into a little bit of the persona. Like, she wanted other people to feel comfortable talking about their story. She wanted this to become an outlet for people to talk about their own struggles. Also similar to the intended audience. The intended audience, I think Walls, of course, this is a great book for anyone to read. And I personally don't connect with what was talked about in the story, but it was a great story. But I think that she kind of wrote this as a testament to hope. Like, as bad as she had it, like when her dad was drunk, screaming, trying to beat her mother, and just all these horrible things, like she made it out. And if she can be successful, anyone can be successful. If she can make it in New York City at a publishing company, then you can achieve your dreams. So that's a picture of Jeanette, which is more current than the story, but she writes this herself, Jeanette. She starts out as this young girl in this troubled, eccentric, dysfunctional household, and it kind of talks about her growing into becoming a teenager, and she really starts questioning her family's morals, like this isn't normal, like why is my dad always drunk? Why does my mom not have a job? Why is there not food on the table? Why are we different? And it kind of from that individuality discovery, she kind of realizes that she wants more, and she chases her dreams, and she moves out to New York, and she lives her dream as a writer. The story is told chronologically, and also that's just a picture of the family. And in this one, it includes Maureen, who is the youngest sibling. So the story actually starts out in New York City, which is a little bit of a jump ahead, but it just starts like that, and it kind of sets the tone for what's to come in the story. But after that, it goes chronologically from Jeanette growing up, moving from Phoenix to Welch to New York, and it tells her whole life story, all the struggles, all the triumphs. This is a really relevant story, in my opinion. And over here, I just have a little drawing I found online of someone who drew their own version of the cover. It says love, dreams, etc. But I feel like this is relevant to the world today because it tells this important story about growing up in a dysfunctional family. It touches on some really, really difficult topics: forgiveness, falling short upon your dreams with Rex and the glass castle. It talks about the guilt Jeanette felt when she couldn't come through for her family, and then when she was able to provide for her family, her parents refused. It talks about the tensions between all the siblings with their parents, the parents with each other. Boundaries when New York and Lori originally moved off to New York because they wanted to become successful. It briefly touches on sexual assault, physical assault, and I think it creates a really safe environment to talk about these topics because, of course, these are really hard conversations to have, but they're necessary. Like if they're that difficult, then they need to happen. So I think it creates a really important conversation to have. Some more interesting facts about kind of the backstory and about Jeanette is Jeanette always had a passion for writing. Throughout school, she wrote at the Maroon Wave. And this right here is actually a little clip from the Maroon Wave. It's actually from 1972. So Jeanette was not a part of the staff at this time, but I thought it was interesting that they had some excerpts online. She actually started working for MSNBC later in her career, and she wrote an article about the Church of Scientology. This church did not like this, and the church did a bunch of research on her family. And at the time, her parents were living as squatters in the New York housing development. And they found that out, and they threatened to expose her family, and she would lose everything. So that was really frustrating. But actually, what came out of that is she wanted an outlet to talk about all her frustrations because her writing, she couldn't publish what she necessarily wanted anymore. So her husband pushed her to write The Glass Castle. And of course, it was a bestseller. It's a huge hit. And that leads us kind of into the next topic. In 2017, The Glass Castle was actually turned into a movie with some big stars, Brie Larson and Woody Harrelson. I haven't actually had the opportunity to watch it yet. I watched the trailer, but I will say the trailer doesn't depict it very well. It kind of romanticizes the relationship with the parents and the parents with the children. But I read that the movie, I'm sorry, is very accurate to the book and does a better job of displaying the relationships. And similarly to the relevance, a lot of schools have started banning the Glass Castle because it details abuse, it has allusions to sex, it talks about some difficult topics, alcoholism, potential mental health issues. But again, I think it's an important conversation to have and to learn about and talk about in an environment where you can learn about it and you can learn so safely. Jeanette has also released several other books, including a book called Half Broke Horses, which is about her grandparents, so how her parents were raised and how that affected how they raised their children. And then lastly, this is a picture of Welch, West Virginia, which is where the family lived a lot of their life. And it's kind of small, but you can see the train tracks running through the town, which is referenced several times while they are living in Welch. So that is all about the Glass Castle. Thank you so much for watching.